Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Summer, and this is Slide Design. Today we're going to be making some fall-inspired cutesy earrings. We're going to do these gnomes. I handmade this mold from a existing mold that had it was a Christmas gnome mold, but I wanted some plain hats so that way I can make them for any season. I wish there was a mold like that out there, but I haven't seen one, so I made my own. Here I am just trimming the mold because there is some silicone that wasn't trimmed up. I made this quite a while back and I never got to finish trimming it. It's a lot easier if you leave the pieces in there and then you trim around them with a cuticle cutter. I did not have one at that point in time, so the only way I had to trim them was to pull them out and then use scissors. Now I know I haven't posted in a minute. It's not because I haven't been doing resin stuff. I have all the stuff that I've been doing filmed. I just need to edit. And I just haven't really felt like sitting in front of the computer for hours and editing. I don't know. Sometimes it's just really, really boring. I do like it sometimes with certain things, but it's just very time consuming. I also purchased these bezels at the bottom of the screen. I think I got those it was either Michael's or Joann's when they were going out of business. I think it was Michael's though. I found them in the clearance section and I thought they'd make good UV resin pieces. Also, if anybody's interested in purchasing anything I make on this channel, most of the stuff I make is jewelry and keychains, and I have them on the Michael's Maker Place. All you have to do is search Slide Design and you'll see them come up. Just make sure you're under the Maker Place. Usually at the top of the screen, either on your phone or on a computer, there'll be a little, what do we call that? Section that says Maker Place. You just click on it, and then in the search you just search Slide Design and you'll find my stuff. Now here I am just using some masking tape or packaging tape to put my bezels on because I do not like the blue tape. It always leaves blue residue on the back and it leaves them sticky. And this stuff doesn't. And this stuff you get a lot more for your money with this stuff. So it's a no-brainer for me. I am placing 4 of them on there because I want them to be 2 pairs of earrings. Now I'm just pushing them down to try and make sure that I don't get any resin leaking out the edges. And yes, I did spill my fall leaf glitter everywhere, so I intend on using it in this project so that way I can clean some of it up. So now I'm putting a thin layer of Let's Resin UV resin into the hats of the molds, and then I'm going to place the leaves in and try and keep them scattered evenly because there's 3 different colored leaves and I don't want too many of the same color in one spot. I don't like to just throw glitter pieces in like that. I like to keep them mixed equally. Now I'm just making sure that the resin is coating the entire surface, so getting around those little holes where you put your findings, making sure that I'm not going to have any bubbles stuck in there before I go and put the leaves in. And here I am just popping some bubbles, making sure that I don't have any bubbles in there. We don't want bubbles. Now I'm just going to take my time placing the leaves in one at a time, and I want to leave some space in between because there is going to be a color background, and they turn out pretty nice. You'll see at the end. And if you were wondering what is around the gnomes, those are just some mini flower, they were nail art decorations that I got on Temu, and I decided to mold them so that way I can make them in any color I want, and I can keep on making them instead of having to order more. So how have you guys been doing? Are you guys ready for the holiday? Well, there's 2 holidays coming up, but everybody seems to have just moved on to Christmas already. And it just, I don't know, everybody forgets about Thanksgiving. Where's all the resin turkeys and, you know, fall leaf stuff? And I see some people doing it, but most people have just straight up forgot about fall and just moved on to Christmas after Halloween. And if anybody watches my live streams and they were wondering how my doctor appointment went, it was good. It didn't end up being cancer. They did cut it off anyway. And I'm glad that it wasn't cancer because I really didn't want to have to go back and get more cut out. It runs in my family, skin cancer, and it's not fun having a needle jabbed into your toe. In fact, I would have to say that is the worst pain I have ever felt ever in my life so far. Now you don't have to back these with a color. I think they would look good just as is, but you can't get any of the leaves up in that little tip, so then that tip would be clear. So I don't know, I thought the color on the back just brought it all together. Now we're going to start putting some resin in these, what are we going to call these? We're going to call them bezels. And I'm just dropping a small amount in and then spreading it out because I don't want it to run over the metal part of the earrings just yet. Now I'm going to start placing some fall leaves in the bottom part of this bezel. I'm going to alternate the colors as well here. How many of you get annoyed that they sell earring molds that are not mirrored on either side? I get annoyed with that when I get a mold and let's say it's a bird and both of the birds are facing the same direction. I don't like that. Can you make both birds and then flip one over? Yeah, but then if you're using glitter or something, it will sink. And when you flip the one over, it's not going to look the same as the other one. And then it just gets annoying. Also, some molds they'll sell saying they're meant for earrings, and then they'll only have one. They'll have like one bird. So then you have to go and make one, and then go and make another one. And you can't do them at the same time, and they might end up looking different also. So lately what I will do is if I get a mold like that only has one and I want it to be an earring mold, I'll make that one, then I'll flip it over, and then I'll make a second one, and then I'll mold both of those so that way I have an earring mold that I can make all at once and not have to do 2 separate steps. So in these bezels, what I do is I make a pattern of leaves and then I reverse it for the next earring because that's going to be a matching pair. Also, be aware of how your glitter is. I have found some of the cheaper glitters at Michael's, like the kind you find in they have like a dollar section right at the beginning of the store, and I always find these cute little glitters that have cute little cutouts of deer and holly leaves and all kinds of stuff. They will bleed in your resin. Like the mushrooms I used on this, they did bleed a little bit. Also, with some of these shapes that you can buy, if you spray your isopropyl alcohol on them, the color will come right off. I have some coffins from Michael's that, well, not coffins, tombstones that are green. They're like a lime green color. And I found out when I sprayed some isopropyl, they turned completely silver. Which I like better because, tombstones are more of a gray color. So you could use that to your advantage. You could still use those glitters. And if you're worried about the isopropyl alcohol, you could always UV resin a thin layer over top of them before you're putting them in one of your projects. But just be aware that can happen. I think if I had placed the mushrooms in these and then immediately cured them, I wouldn't have had any bleeding because it would be cured. But being I left them sit there for a little while because I wanted to do all the earrings at the same time, that is why they bled into the resin. So if I had used the ones that were bleeding in a regular resin project, it would have tinted my resin red, and then you may not have even seen the mushrooms. So this is why I'm kind of warning you about your glitters. Just, I would say, double check them, do a test piece with a small amount of UV, let it sit there in the resin, see if it bleeds. Once you know that it's a glitter that's going to bleed, then you'll know how you can expect things to go in your project. Now the mushrooms I didn't get in the dollar section. They came from the kids section in Michael's. There's 2 different sections where you can buy glitter in Michael's. There's one in my store. It's towards the front of the store, up where like the scrapbook paper and stuff is. Those are the more expensive, fancy, just plain color glitters, or they do have some shapes, but I think the only shape up there is like unicorns and flamingos. I haven't bought any of those because I'm not really into unicorns or flamingos, so that's why I haven't bought any. But the kids section has little jars now of the one that I bought that I used in this video had mushrooms, deer, it had little hedgehogs, and I think it also had some leaves in it. Not fall like these leaves, more like regular leaves, green. They also have a jar that has little puppy heads and kitty heads, and dog bones and fish bones, like a cat ate a fish and the bones are left. And I think it has little paw prints. I haven't tested those if they bleed or not yet, but I think if these ones do, I'd imagine those ones do, because I think it's the same company that makes them. Or it could just be the color. It could be something with the color red that it bleeds, because I did buy a dollar section glitter a previous year at Michael's, and it was Christmas colors, red, green, and white, I think there was mixed in, and gold. And I put them in some of those Christmas deer ornaments, and the red did bleed. It still looked okay, not as good as it would have if it hadn't bled, but I think maybe it is a red thing. But then the tombstones kind of make you wonder, because they were green and the isopropyl alcohol took it right off. But would they have bled? I don't know. Haven't tried it. Alright, so the first two earrings are going to be hedgehogs in the middle with the leaves underneath. And then the second two are going to be the mushrooms with the leaves underneath. Now, I didn't have any issues with the hedgehogs bleeding, and it was the same glitter as the mushrooms. So maybe it is just the red. And isn't that little tiny deer cute? Look at that little tiny deer. That is the most adorable thing I've ever seen. I have to do earrings for Christmas with the little deers in snow with little snowflakes falling or something like that, because I have to do something with those. They're just too adorable. And yes, I kind of do have a deer obsession. I have a lot of deer molds. I don't know why. I like them in real life. They come to my house. They eat at the bird feeders, even though I don't want them to. I probably should invest in one of those bricks of food you can buy for them, so that way they leave the bird food alone. But maybe eventually. But yeah, I love deer. Now I'm just making sure everything is placed right, because I'm gonna UV, put them under the UV light so that way they cure fully and we can move on to the next steps. I was trying really hard not to get the resin on the metal, but it was too much of a pain. So I just decided, I'll cover the metal up. You're still going to see it because it's clear resin, and it might even protect the metal from getting scratched up. So I was like, yeah, why not? And now I'm curing those and the gnomes all at one time, trying to get it all done at the same time so I don't have to, not only waste my lights bulb efficiency, but then get it all done within, I don't know, like a 5-minute span. And here's the back side and how they're gonna look. They're so cute. Now I'm gonna cure the back side, so that way when I pull them off the tape, I'm not gonna have any issues with resin that hasn't fully cured because of the glitter pieces that I used in the pieces. Okay, so now I am going to top coat these. It will magnify everything even more and make them look nicer. I'm also going to do it on both sides. I don't know if you guys have this issue in your area, but there's always people saying, you know, oh, it's something cheap because it's made of plastic. Or, you know, they assume that it doesn't take that much time to do. I mean, it depends on what you're doing. If you're just pouring a solid color of resin into a mold, it's really not that much effort. But when you're doing stuff like this and you're taking your time and you're making things look nice, I feel like, you know, people should recognize that, like, you're doing more than the average and your stuff looks a lot better. So take your time with what you're doing. If you're trying to sell, all you gotta do is figure out, like, how much material you used. I know it's difficult with certain things like glitters and even the UV resin. You don't really know how much you're using, but what you can do is you could say, today's a UV resin day and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do a whole bottle worth of resin, of UV resin. And you know how much that bottle is worth. So then it'll kind of give you an idea how many earrings you can get out of one bottle of UV resin. And then you'll know how to price things better. Also, don't forget about the time you spent making those pieces. I mean, you could always take your phone and set a stopwatch when you start working on something, and then you have the time that you spent on it, and then just write it down. And then if you got to do a next step the next day, just do the same thing again and then add up all your time at the end, and you'll know how much time you need to get paid for. And you're working for yourself, so then you can set how much you're going to make hourly. And I know sometimes I do this to myself, where I get in my head and I think, well, am I going to be charging too much for this if I set my hourly wage very high? I mean, if you feel like the earrings are too expensive, you could always drop them down. But there are certain things you can do and sell for less that cost you less money. Like if you have a mold, like I have a skull mold, and I want to say there's like 20 skulls in it, and I make them into earrings. All I have to do is brush the colors on the mold and then pour black behind it if I'm using chameleon. And then those will all be ready the next day to take out. Then all I gotta do is drill holes in the heads, put the findings in, put the hooks on, and they're all ready to go. That doesn't take much time. Then you can sell those ones for cheaper because they don't take as much time. But for the stuff that takes more time, or you spend more money because you're using expensive things in the project, I think you need to be charging for. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I see on the Facebook groups a lot that people always ask, what do you charge for this? What do you charge for that? Because they see people who are successfully selling things, and then they're wondering, oh, well, I wonder how much they paid. Because then, I know where to set my stuff at, but everybody's stuff is different. Everybody spends different amounts of time on things. There's some people who just craft for a hobby, and then they don't worry about their time spent. So everybody's different. Look how cute the little hedgehog is. He's so cute. Now, these are fully finished. That one did get some bubbles in it, but they're not very noticeable. I don't know if you can tell the bleeding on the camera. Maybe you'll see it at the end when I take the photos. But it's really not crazy bad. But if it was used in a regular resin and had more time to sit there, it probably would have bled and made the whole thing turn red. Now here I am adding the backing color to the gnome hats. This is like a mossy green. And then the other one I used... See, what did I use for the other one? One was green with a brown beard. And the other one had a orange beard. I think with a brown hat. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look now. Yes, it was a brown hat for the orange beard. Now the nice thing about this mold is because the hats are plain and they don't have any designs in them, I can use them for any holiday. I can make Christmas ones for Christmas. I can make them for St. Patty's Day, Easter. I can do them for the summer with flowers and butterflies and whatever. Sky's the limit. When you have a plain, just basic mold, you can do whatever you want with it. That's why I like them so much. Now, am I a fan of gnomes? No, but my sister-in-law is, so that's kind of why I got the gnome mold, because I was making, I think I made her a pair one Christmas. Now I'm doing this in layers because it's UV resin, and I'm putting the mica powder into the resin, and I don't want it to be super opaque because then the UV resin will have a hard time curing, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm doing it in stages. I'm putting a thin layer down, curing it, and then putting another thin layer down, and everything seems to work out except for when I get to the beards, and you'll see why. If any of you are in the Pittsburgh area, I have a sale coming up on the 30th of November. It's going to be in Monroeville Mall. Maybe I'll see somebody there. I mean, let me know if you've watched my channel and you're there, and you can talk to me. I'm not gonna bite. Also, you may be seeing videos going up more frequently this week or possibly next week. I want to get as much footage as I can edited that I have now, because my phone is full and my computer needs some of this stuff removed from it. So yeah. This looks to be the final layer going on here. It did end up fully curing the whole way through, so this worked out just fine. I didn't think this green was going to be a nice color, but I really do like it. I'm pretty sure it was called moss green, and it's Arteza. I had some music playing, so I'm just playing around on the camera. I get real into my music, and that's a lot of reason why I do the voiceovers, because I like listening to different stuff, and it would all be copyright. Tell me what your favorite music is in the comments. I like a little bit of everything. The only thing I really don't like is some of the rap that they go so fast you can't hear what they're saying or can't understand what they're saying. I don't like those. But I do like Eminem. Eminem's pretty good. I like a little bit of everything. The only other thing that I don't like are like the heavy metals where they're screaming. Some of them I can tolerate, some of them I can't, just depends. Now, I filled these molds all the way up. I probably shouldn't have done that because it is a handmade mold and it's not cut perfect. So I did have some cleaning up at the end to do, smoothing out, things like that. Maybe I'll get better at it at some point where I won't have that problem. Also, I did create a Facebook group called Sly Design, so if you want to join, go ahead and join it. I do share, like, when my videos are going to go up, I share them on there. I also share other things that I may not have done on video on there. I'd like it if people would come and join and share their projects too, so that way we can kind of like bounce ideas off each other. I don't try to gatekeep anything. Also, if you want to join one of my live streams, they're free. I don't have anything under a paywall yet. I mean, maybe someday I will. But I usually just live stream just random stuff. I have some Christmas bits that I already have made, and I want to make them into jewelry or possibly finish some of them off. So I will have maybe a live stream doing that, because it'll probably involve some UV. So yeah, come and join. Don't be afraid to talk in the chat. You know, talk about whatever you want. Now that the hats are fully cured on one side, I am going to flip them over and cure them on the other, just to make sure we're all good when we take them out. Here are some acorns from my parents' house. There are two different ones. I think one is from a gobbler oak. It's this one. And then the other one is just a normal oak tree. I like going over there and collecting different things because they have a lot of different trees in their yard. Okay, so now we can demold the hats. Look how cute that is. I love how they turned out. Maybe I should make myself a pair for winter. I'm sorry most of this is like kind of off the screen. This was during one of the live streams, and I'm not sure if I wasn't paying attention to the camera or if it just lagged and didn't show me what it was actually recording. I don't know, but this is how the video clips ended up, so. Now I'm trying to figure out what colors I'm going to use on the beards. It was between two different oranges. One was slightly darker than the other. I think I did go with the darker one, and I like that I did that. And I also went with the brown. I wanted natural, like, hair colors. This is where I made the mistake. I brushed the colors onto the mold, and the UV wasn't able to go through the mica, so don't do that. It ended up looking better just mixed in with the UV anyway. So what I did when I demolded the beards, I flipped them over and I made the good side the front of the earrings instead of the back. So it worked out. Also, I'm trying that tape technique that that Wendy from Toonpish does. You ball up the tape and then you just dab it where you've already painted some mica, and then it leaves these open spaces for the second color to go on. I don't know if the colors were too close to each other, but I didn't see it make much of a difference. It might have been that. I don't know. And now I'm just putting the resin in. Again, I'm going to do it in thin layers because it's UV and I don't want it to be too thick and opaque that the light doesn't shine through. And I know during this video I'm not wearing gloves. I know that's probably not a good idea. I would highly recommend you wear your gloves. But anytime I get resin on myself, I immediately go wash it off in the sink with Dove dish soap. And then I also use hand sanitizer because that tends to get rid of any stickiness. So if you didn't know that, hopefully that'll help you out. Just plain regular hand sanitizer will get rid of any stickiness. Another thing I've noticed about certain molds is there'll be really thick pieces and they'll have this hole already, like the little hole thing already there. I find those annoying. I know a lot of people like the holes already in the molds. I do not. I would rather drill my own hole, because if it's a thick piece, you're gonna have a really hard time getting your findings on with a really thick piece with a hole drilled through it, as opposed to drilling down through the top of the piece and putting in one of those little eye hook things and then putting your findings on. I feel like that's way easier than having the hole in the mold. And then also, you'll get bubbles trapped around that. And that can cause you even more issues and more things that you have to fix. The only bad part about putting the eye finding thing in after drilling through the top is if you're making something clear, you're going to see that. That may be a big reason why a lot of people don't do it, but there's ways to get around that. Now again, I'm flipping the mold over to cure the other side to make sure we're all good to go, which we end up not being because of the mica powder that's been painted onto the mold. And here is how the mica powder looks. This is the mica side. I didn't like it, so I just flipped it over. See how much better the other side looks? It's more vibrant, and it actually looks like it has a texture like it's hair. I like it so much better. Now the orange ones cured all the way through, but the brown ones did not. I had patches where the resin didn't cure and it just looked like crap. So what I did was I flipped them over and I used the resin side, the side that wasn't brushed on, as the front. And then the backs I coated with a UV resin mixed with glitter, so that way I could cover up the uncured areas and also make them look nice on the back side. And that's the glitter I used. So here I'm just going to mix this glitter in with the UV resin, and then I'm going to put it on the backs of the beards. Now there are two glitters that I really like a lot. One is Renfio and the other one is Seiya. They also make some mica powders and stuff too. I don't have any of the micas, but I do have the glitter sets from each, and they were both the holographic sets. And they're very pretty, all of them. They're just so pretty. I have them linked in my descriptions on every video So if you're interested in the sets, you can go check the sets out. And then if you like a certain color in the set, you can order a bigger jar. And here are the final shots. They look so adorable. I'm so happy with them. Thanks for watching. Come back again and see me. And please comment, like, and subscribe.